Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining me for another video. In today's video, we're gonna talk about the best running back twos to target once you get past those elite guys. Who are your best options that can help put you over the top on your league? Now, we have a list that are players that I seem to be getting a lot of capital in all of the drafts that I am doing. I think they have a ton of upside, and that is what we are looking for as we move down our draft boards. I am not really interested in those guys that are perceived as safe, because those aren't gonna win you championships. Those are not gonna help you out and put you over the top. Now, before we get into all of the great content today, I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe. Drop that on the video and give me some help. It means the world to me, and I cannot thank you guys enough for them. So let's hop into it. The best running back twos to target. I'm gonna start this video with Cam Akers. He's got an ADP of 31 and he is RB17. Now, I get the concern after Akers' uninspiring playoff performances, but we have to be real about this. He was injured in training camp, so there was not a lot of time for him to come back for this. Most people thought it was impossible for him to return from injury, so I give him credit for giving it a go. I think it shows his healing ability. And now this is 6 more months of recovery for Cam Akers. So he is gonna be much closer to 100%. He's gonna be much stronger. We already know that there are injuries to that backfield with Darrell Henderson. So that opens up an opportunity for Akers to take a stranglehold on this job and pretty much win it outright. Now, we've also seen from Sean McVay that he is more than willing to have a main back and then just sprinkle in touches with a secondary one. He is not the type of coach, at least thus far in his career, that has a 1A, 1B situation. Now, I know training camp reports are saying otherwise, and that he says he's got 2 number 1 running backs. But when push comes to shove, Akers has been the guy getting touches when it matters most. In 6 career playoff games, he's averaging over 20 touches a game. So they want to get this guy the ball more than anyone. And we know that the Rams are also going to put up a ton of points, which means a lot of scoring opportunities for Akers. We loved, at least I loved Cam Akers last year before his injury. And everything that he's got in front of him is basically the exact same, except you can get him cheaper now than you could last year, at least prior to that injury. The Rams, their offensive line is awesome. It's supposed to be one of the top 12 units in the league, according to ESPN. That is only going to help Akers. Another thing that I think gives him a little bit of a bump here is we've heard the reports about Matthew Stafford's elbow injury. Now, it may not be serious. I know that they're saying that it's not, but can we be so sure that the Rams aren't gonna at least lean a little bit more on the run and try to keep some wear and tear off of that elbow? I do not think that that would be too far-fetched an idea. So another way and route that Akers can get even more touches. We know that there is so many elite options around Akers that it's gonna open up the field for him. Cooper Kupp was an animal last year. It's going to be more of the same this year. And I am a believer in Allen Robinson, although he had looked washed last year. I get that. I think it was the situation. And I think he bounces back pretty nicely as that wide receiver 2 in the offense. We know that Akers can catch balls, and I do my rankings based on half-point PPR. And that gives him a little bit of boost as well. Even if he's not elite there just yet, he is capable, and that is what we are looking for. The breakout that we were looking for last year from Akers is coming. It's just going to be a year late. Let's not miss out on it. The upside is far too great for Cam Akers. Bryce Hall is my next guy. He's got an ADP of 38. He's currently going as RB19. And I know that he is on the Jets, and that automatically just pushes people away, and I get that. But when we look at the measurables for Bryce Hall, when we look at the production and the skill set from college, it translates really well. Actually, the next two running backs I'm going to talk about both translate really well. They are elite running back prospect. The size for Bryce Hall, he's 220 pounds almost, and he has 4.39 speed. So that type of size with that type of speed is a very rare thing. Bryce Hall also caught 3 balls a game in college. So he has that elite pass catching capability, and he averaged over 25 yards receiving per game in college, scored a ton of touchdowns, and he was a workhorse 3-down back at Iowa State. He is going to continue that in the NFL. I do get the concerns with Michael Carter because they just drafted him last year and they invested a decent amount in him. But I do not believe that the Jets would have gone after Bryce Hall if they did not believe he was going to be the guy and he was going to be the one that they were going to lean on. I think that by doing that after just 1 year of having Michael Carter in the system, number one, I think it says a lot about the Jets going out and redrafting a running back. They probably just felt that Carter was not it. He was not the guy they wanted to lean on. Enter Bryce Hall. So the workload here could be massive for Bryce Hall, which gives him upside that in this range at RB19, we just do not see a lot of. He's really close to Cam Akers in that regard as far as what his upside and ceiling might be. Now, you may argue that it's going to be capped in the Jets offense, and I get that. The Jets do have a fairly solid offensive line. Even with the injury of Mekhi Becton, they just brought in Dwayne Brown, so they have reloaded there a little bit. And while he's older, he has been productive as a left tackle, and he should be able to hold up if nothing else. I just feel that one of these young players is going to break out for New York this year on offense, and if I have to bet on who it's going to be, Bryce Hall has the best chance at doing so. When we look at his measurables, his production, and his skill set from college, he compares very favorably. In fact, he was either at the level or better than prospects like Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, and Rashad Penny, who we'll just throw that one out. But these are elite prospects, guys that have balled out at the NFL level, and Bryce Hall is right there with these guys. So we have seen in the past where you don't have to be on a great or even good real-life football team to produce at the running back position. DeAndre Swift was balling out in Detroit last year before his injuries. And I think that Bryce Hall has a lot of that same ability, and I love him at his current price because he could smash this ADP. In a very similar vein and in the exact same measurable production and skill set area as we just talked about with Bryce Hall, we have Travis Etienne, who a lot of people were excited about last year before his injury. Now, other players in that measurable production and skill set area that compare with both Etienne and Bryce Hall include Saquon Barkley, Cam Akers, Jonathan Taylor, and we just talked about DeAndre Swift. These are both guys that are going to be able to catch balls out of the backfield, and in Etienne's case, he is very likely to be used as a receiver at some points. That obviously is going to give him much more upside in half PPR and full PPR leagues. I also think that we kind of have to just throw out what happened in Jacksonville last season. It was an absolute nightmare, a dumpster fire, but we have an entirely new coaching staff, an offensive system here. And with Etienne back in this offense, it is going to be far more dangerous. You can say what you want about Christian Kirk. I believe his contract was ludicrous, but he has still been a capable wide receiver and is going to be a better option than anything that Lawrence had last year. So overall, this offense is going to be better, and that's going to be more production opportunities for Etienne. He also got injured really early last year, so he's had a full year to recover. I would expect him to be at 100%. And speaking of that, we do not know if James Robinson is going to be, right now reports are saying he's going to be good to go for week 1, but he injured his Achilles late last year. And we might see something similar to what happened with Cam Akers when he came back and he just wasn't that same guy. Now, I will say that one of the reasons I love ETN so much is because I believe that he has a really good chance at being that RB1 role with the work in the red zone. And if for whatever reason Robinson would take that goal line role and has those touchdown opportunities, you might be in a little bit of trouble with ETN. But I just think that the talent for ETN is too great to pass up on, and eventually he is going to win that role if he doesn't already have it. ETN has a lot of draft capital stuck in him, whereas James Robinson does not. And so it would not surprise me at all if he was the one, as far as ETN, to get those high scoring opportunities. The final thing that I really like about ETN is that his passing game production went up every single season in college at Clemson. He went from 5 receptions to 12 to 37 to 48. So well over 80 receptions over his final 2 years and over 1,000 receiving yards. So we know that he has an ability to really light it up in the passing game. He's electric in space, and that will be the reason that the Jags are going to force feed him the ball. The final running back that I want to look at before I go to my bonus pick is Elijah Mitchell of the San Francisco 49ers. Seems to be losing steam as the preseason has gone on. On one hand, I do understand it to an extent because Kyle Shanahan has a history of not sticking with the same running back. It's been 5 years and 5 different leading running backs for this team. But I would argue that they haven't had a running back with the talent and skill set that Elijah Mitchell showcased last year. He's currently going as the 47th player off the board. He's RB22, and he's got upside here to absolutely smash that. When you look at running backs in their rookie season, when they average over 100 yards a game, as Elijah Mitchell did, those running backs are usually going in the top 10, and all of a sudden, which granted because of that injury history, there's concern, this guy is free falling and he's nearly outside of RB2 range. I just do not understand it. He was 5th in the NFL last year in rushing yards a game. He was ahead of Joe Mixon in that regard, and he was right behind Dalvin Cook. That is elite level production. Now, he does leave a little bit to be desired as far as the passing game work, and that's okay, because what he does on the ground is going to be more than enough to sustain him at this price point. Now, another concern that I hear about Mitchell is going to be the move from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance. And I will give you that that might mean that the touchdowns do come down a little bit for Mitchell. But the 49ers still want to be a run-first team, and they still want to and are going to need to protect Trey Lance. So while I do believe that Lance is going to run it plenty, and I love him as a prospect, by the way, I don't think that that means that Elijah Mitchell's role is completely wiped out to the point where he cannot return value at this point. Now let's get into my bonus pick. It's the final running back that I want to talk about. And I have him as a bonus pick because he's actually outside of RB2 range right now, which is absolute madness if you ask me. And that is J.K. Dobbins. You already know I love him from my first video on top 15 running backs where I had him on there. Now, obviously I was a little aggressive on that, but I don't think that I was far off if we look at where Dobbins could potentially go in drafts right now. He's currently the RB25 with an ADP of 62, and he has insane upside for a player being drafted there. We know that Gus Edwards is on the PUP list. He's going to miss the first 4 games, and so that leaves J.K. Dobbins as the dude to take a stranglehold on this backfield and hopefully never let go of it. If we look at what Dobbins did his rookie season, he averaged 6 yards per carry. That is insane. And he is now being kind of discarded for what reason? The injury last year, I get that we don't love it, and we were excited about him last year and it didn't work out. But that was in preseason. He is over a year removed from that injury, and he should be at 100% by the time the season starts. And the Ravens' offensive line is going to be a top 10 unit. We also know that the Ravens want to run the ball as much as possible. They've done it more than anyone else over the last 3 years in the league. There's no reason for them to change that thought process, especially when you look at the wide receiver core here, which is absolutely tragic. They have Rashad Bateman, they have Mark Andrews, and they have a bunch of guys that you've never heard about. James Prochet, not moving the needle for me. So the Ravens are going to run the heck out of the rock, and it's going to be Dobbins who is the guy toting it. Now, there is a little bit of concern from Dobbins, but his lack of involvement in the passing game. He still averaged nearly a couple catches a game in college, so I think he does have that ability in his arsenal, even if he hasn't showcased it a whole lot. I think with Dobbins at this price point, there are very few options that I would consider drafting over him because the upside is a top 10 running back. If he takes this job and he never lets go of it and ends up getting 65% of the touches in this backfield, which I do not think is crazy and out of the question, he is going to absolutely murder this ADP. And that's pretty much all I have for you guys for the video. Really hope you learned something. Hope the content was enjoyable for you. I am here to answer your questions. Drop those down below, whether that be trades, keepers, draft position, whatever. I love the engagement. It's one of the main reasons that I do these videos. I would greatly appreciate, as always, a like and a subscribe. It keeps the channel moving forward and it helps me out so very much. To all my current subscribers out there that have supported me thus far, thank you, thank you, thank you. Without you, none of this is possible. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abrimo Pats, and we will see you next time.